everybody, it's Missy from Shimmerz again, and today's video is going to show you different ways that you can treat your cardstock before applying Shimmerz paints. And the first thing that I'm going to use here is gesso, and this is white gesso, and I'm just using white cardstock here. And if you're unfamiliar with what gesso is, it's a primer, and I'm just using an old credit card here to smudge some down, and it's going to create a barrier between the paper and the paint. And it's going to toughen up the paper, give it a little bit of texture, and just give the paint somewhere to go when I spray it onto the paper. The second section here, I'm going to use just plain, cheap, white acrylic paint. Now, it's definitely a lot thicker, it's more opaque, it's going to create an even thicker barrier on the paper here, and it's going to be completely different than the white gesso, and we're going to look at how those are different. The third section is going to be just plain cardstock with nothing on it. Alright, so I'm going to be using a couple of different sprays. This is Colorings in Don't Citron Me. Then I'm going to use Vibes in Jenny B Blue. And then I'm going to add a third color, which is Colorings in Heidi Ho Blue. And you can already see the difference in what's going on here when I just spray these directly onto the paper. The gesso and the paint, you can see the paint or the sprays pools up a little bit. I'm just going to use my water brush here to do a little bit of smudging. Now on the gesso, it's going to blend really nicely. The more water I add and the more I move around with the brush, the paint's going to blend really nicely. And the same thing with the white acrylic paint. However, on the white acrylic paint, it's not going to seep into the paper as much, and so it's going to stay wet a lot longer. And on the right, with nothing on the paper, it's harder to blend because right when you spray it down, it's immediately going to start to seep into the paper, and you can see there it doesn't blend as well, and the more water you add, the more it's going to start to seep through the paper. And you can see the first two there, they're still liquid on top because both of those products create a barrier. But they do allow for really nice blending, and the looks are just totally different. And when the paint is dry, you're going to notice a significant difference. Now each look is perfect and great in its own way. It just depends on what you're going for and the finished look that you want. So I'm going to take my heat gun here and just give these a little bit of heat to dry just for the sake of time. And now we're going to look at everything. Look at the differences in treating the cardstock. The first one here with the gesso, you can see definitely more crisp lines where the water dried. Now you could take your water brush and go right back to that and continue to blend it. But you can see the difference there, and you still get a little bit of shimmer, and you could continue to add sprays to add even more shimmer. It just depends on what you want. Now the middle there, look at the difference in the shimmer. That's the white acrylic paint. Definitely a more smooth and blended look. And then here is just plain cardstock. You're still going to get the shimmer and the sparkle, but your color, to me, it's not as dark. So if you wanted it to go darker, you need to keep spraying, but you do run the risk of, it seeping through the paper and making it a little more warped. So it just depends on what you're going for and the colors that you use. And I think it's just interesting to look at the differences there. Again, there's a close-up of the gesso. That's the one that I use the most on my projects. There's the white acrylic paint, and then finally the plain cardstock with no treatment on the background. So it just depends on what you want to do, but I just wanted to take the time to look at the differences. So thanks for joining us today.